So you've tried waking up at 5 a.m., using your habit tracker, and have a beautifully decorated bullet journal. And still, you're tired, overwhelmed, and wondering what you're doing wrong because these productivity solutions are just not working for you. The truth? Those hacks weren't made for your life. They were made for someone else's highlight reel. I'm Janina, and I help creators and side hustlers organize their life so they can hit their goals without burning out. And today, I'm sharing 5 popular productivity hacks I don't do, and what I do instead that actually works for me. So let's get into it. Hack number 1, CEO morning routines or anything that requires you to wake up at 5 a.m. Why is this so popular? It's a staple of hustle culture and countless YouTube morning routine videos. Books like the 5 a.m. Club and the Miracle Morning really emphasize the importance of waking up really early to follow an optimized and frankly packed morning routine. So, why do people do this? It's marketed as the ultimate sign of discipline and ambition. High profile CEOs, 1 million plus follower creators claim early wake ups and these systematic morning rituals change their lives. So people assume it must be the path to success. These practices promise a millionaire mindset. Meditate, journal, workout, cold plunge, all before 8 a.m. I do it and I'm successful. I told my business friends and now they do it and they're successful too. So you think that if millionaires do it, maybe it's the secret sauce. So why can this be effective? So the idea is that when you wake up earlier, you're using the time that you would typically allot to sleep and using that instead to get your day started earlier, particularly at a time when most people aren't awake, and therefore you're less likely to encounter distractions so you can get more done before most people ever wake up. Let's talk about why this might not work for you. Waking up early is only effective for naturally early risers or for those who can adjust their daily routines so that they can go to bed earlier. However, most people don't fit into that first category or make the adjustments they need to fit into the second one. So, really, it's just shortening their sleep and shifts tiredness to earlier in the day, which is not at all surprising because after you wake up, what you're getting done essentially amounts to a 12-step program. You're stacking meditation, reading, journaling, breath work, cold plunge, gym. All of that is going to equal burnout. Remember, a big part of productivity is about energy management, not clock time. So if you're spending the majority of your day feeling tired and unmotivated because you're trying this hack, it just might not be the best one for you. And also remember, if you're going to sleep earlier to accommodate this new start time and routine, you're also ending your day much earlier. So you are losing time at night and you're losing time to the activities that you may be doing, which is taking time away from you doing the things that are actually beneficial to you. Let's talk about what I like to do instead. I like to have a productive day that really honors my energy levels. I try and wake up at 7 a.m. most days, and that's early enough for me to have time for me and my goals before I need to devote my time to a full time job, which really is just about devoting my time to someone else. And my morning routine consists of fueling my body, setting my intentions and the goals for the day, and clearly defining my priorities so I know what I need to do throughout the day to feel accomplished. I try to get into bed no later than 11 p.m. because I like to get like a good 7 to 8 hours of sleep. And going to bed at that time gives me plenty of time to end my 9 to 5 workday, work on any side hustles I have dinner, and wind down for the evening. And even though I wake up early, sometimes I'm not in the mood or I don't have enough energy to work on side projects in the morning. So this allows me to have plenty of time to work at night and still have time to fully decompress from the day before I go to sleep. And on weekends, sometimes I still might wake up early and spend that time lounging in bed, relaxing, reading. Other times I wake up later because I ended up with a lot of energy the night before and did a lot of work. I like to honor my inner night owl when she appears and let her know that she can be just as successful and accomplished as my inner early bird. Productivity hack number 2, bullet journaling in those complex styles. Okay, Why is this so popular? So let's specify I'm talking about bullet journaling in physical notebooks. This is huge on Pinterest, Instagram, YouTube. Aesthetic productivity is a niche, and they're really beautiful. Personally, I love watching videos from creators who still do this because what they come up with to me is a piece of art. But I watch it because I like the art and the creativity, not because I'm looking for a productivity solution. So, why do people do this? So, it combines planning with creativity. It can be very therapeutic, and it's really popular with more artistic visual types. It's aesthetically pleasing, and frankly, it's highly Instagrammable. Okay, so let's talk about why this can be effective. Depending on your setup, you can use it to organize your tasks and events, track your goals and habits, organize your notes, and manage your time. Bullet journals, though, are not just about planning, they're also about journaling as well. So they provide a way for you to express and reflect on your thoughts and your feelings. And they can also be a creative outlet. So, for example, I've seen YouTube videos where painters are using this method and incorporating their paintings into their bullet journals. It's really pretty. And if you haven't picked up on it yet, it's also extremely customizable and flexible. So, you can design a layout that fits your needs, and there's no template restrictions if you want to completely change it for the next month or week. Okay, but let's talk about why this might not work for you. If you're doing bullet journaling in a physical notebook, it can be really time consuming, and the amount of setup time and maintenance, frankly, just doesn't justify the payoff as a productivity solution. If it takes you 30 minutes to prep your journal every day, you're losing time and focus. And people tend to get stuck in the decorating and not the doing, which makes the practice more performative than practical. So here's what I do instead. I'm a visual planner and I love an aesthetically pleasing layout, but pretty never takes precedence over practicality and function when it comes to a planning or productivity system. So I like to use productivity tools that are aesthetically pleasing by default or are easy to make aesthetically pleasing after the fact. So something like X Tiles, which is pretty but not time consuming to set up. And in this case, beauty becomes the byproduct and not the end goal. I also like to use Notion, and this is really great if you like the flexibility aspect. And in that case, you want to set up something that's flexible for you, but you would think about the aesthetic portion after you get a template that's going to work for you. And the really great thing is you can set up sort of like automations or like click a button and you can create a brand new template, or frankly use templates that they already have and just adjust them to your needs. But as we said before, bullet journaling is not just about planning, it's also a creative outlet and for journaling. So if I'm looking for an analog, physical solution for that, I'm going to get me a journal with a beautiful cover or a sketchbook, or if I want to go digital, I'll use something like Procreate. And let me just note one more time that I'm referring to physical bullet journaling. So, if you're still interested in bullet journaling, consider the digital option. You can achieve that same level of flexibility and creativity, but creating a new layout can be as simple as a copy paste for you. So, it's also quick and easy. Before we move on to the third productivity hack that I don't do, if this video is giving you some alternative solutions you think you can actually use, give this video a like. It helps me know whether or not to make more content like this. Productivity hack number 3 that I don't do is using habit trackers with like 20 plus habits. So, why is this so popular? It's really common in habit tracker printables, Notion templates, and if you've seen it, those That Girl routine videos. So, why do people do this? Frankly, it feels like you're taking charge of your life. You get this dopamine hit from checking boxes, and frankly, we all crave transformation. So, habit tracking gives you the illusion of control plus instant results. So, why can this be effective? So, habit trackers do help build positive routines, help you stay motivated, and track your progress towards your goals. They can act as a visual reminder to perform certain desired actions, which provides a sense of accomplishment as your progress is recorded, and it increases your self awareness by helping you identify patterns of behavior. So, maybe you're doing something really great during the week, but not so much on the weekends. And it helps you see any triggers you may have for good or bad behavior. So, why might this not work for you? Tracking too many habits is going to overwhelm most people. It's going to lead to guilt, drop off, and checkmark obsession. If you're tracking and trying to hit too many habits, it's unlikely that any of those habits are going to stick, and all of that tracking is just going to lead to burnout. And frankly, most people tend to abandon those kinds of habits within a few weeks. So here's what I do instead. I like to focus on 1 to 3 high impact habits that move the needle in some way. And I try and master one before I stack on another. So I like to initially use a habit tracker to track that habit and include a weekly reflection solely based on that habit. After a couple of weeks, I like to evaluate if this habit is working for me or if it's something that I still want to pursue and if not, potentially change it. If I keep it, then I'll typically drop the habit tracking because in this case, the habit tracking is more of an evaluation period. And theoretically, the positive results that I would have gotten from completing this habit should be a lot more motivating than just checking a box. And then I will just incorporate any future thoughts about that habit in my overall weekly reflection. Productivity hack number 4 that I don't do is to follow that inbox zero approach. So, this is popular because it's kind of a productivity buzzword, and it's something like tools like Gmail and Superhuman kind of build around. So, let's talk about why people do this. They like the idea that like the tidy inbox is equals a clean mind. So they want a tidy inbox that's going to give them a sense of control. And frankly, it can feel like satisfying to clear that inbox out. Why can this be effective? So, Inbox Zero is a productivity strategy that focuses on managing emails to keep your inbox at empty or nearly empty at all times. It's not necessarily about having zero emails, but rather about having a system for handling emails efficiently to minimize the mental burden of a cluttered inbox. So, the goal is to reduce stress and improve focus by processing emails quickly and effectively rather than letting them pile up and become overwhelming. But why might this not work for you? So, this strategy can feel good in the short term, but frankly, it distracts from higher value work. It's pretty much a promotion of busy work. It feels like you're doing something worthwhile, but it's not an activity that's actually going to move the needle. So, you can spend hours clearing emails without making any strategic progress. And managing your inbox doesn't mean you're managing your priorities. It's really more of a reactive activity and it's not proactive work. So here's what I do instead. At the beginning of each day, I filter my emails by unread emails and only keep the emails that I need to take action on as unread. These are typically emails that relate to some higher level project that I may be working on. I don't worry about deleting emails. I use filter rules and tags and use that to manage my inbox. My goal is really to spend very little time in my inbox. I spend my time in applications that are going to move the needle and help me deliver high impact work because that's what I care about the most. Okay, before we move on to our last productivity hack, I'm curious, which of these hacks have you tried and how did it go? I'd love to hear what worked and what didn't. Let me know in the comments. Productivity hack number 5 that I don't do is reading one book per week. So it's pretty obvious why this is popular. We've all seen the I read 52 books in a year flex. It's on LinkedIn, Medium, YouTube, Substack. It's this idea that reading equals smart. It feels prestigious to hit this goal, and it makes you feel like you're an expert on a topic because you read a lot. And I mean, why people do this, it's pretty much related also to why it's popular, but it also feels productive and intellectual and it's measurable. So, I mean, everyone loves to count the things that they've done. So, why can this be effective? So, the idea is really like you're exposing yourself to a diverse set of thoughts and opinions. You're discovering new interests. You're improving your reading skills. You're improving your focus and concentration. And reading can be a form of stress reduction for people. So, it's all really great. But why might this not work for you? So, knowledge without action does not equal growth. Consuming is not the same as implementing. Reading less and applying more is far more valuable. So, I was listening to the On Your Terms podcast, and the host, Sam Vanderwielen, I think I pronounced that correctly. Apologies if I didn't. But they recently did a podcast with Pat Flynn as a guest. So, I'm going to link to the episode below, but they were talking about how we're surrounded and overwhelmed by so much information today that it can lead to information overload and actually stop people from taking action because they are continuing to look for more information to prepare themselves for every scenario and looking for the perfect solution. This is what they called the just in case learning approach. And instead, Pat suggested using a just in time learning approach, where you focus on just getting the information you need to move forward and tackle the next step or obstacle. So he also brought up an interesting point about how there's always more and better information in the future. So why waste your time learning something now that might just end up being outdated and obsolete later when you actually need it to implement whatever it is you need to do, which means you'll just need to do your research all over again. So here's what I do instead. I like to make a list of any books, resources, or courses I come across that seem interesting or could be valuable so I don't lose track of it, and I categorize it by the information type. Then I apply the just in time learning approach. I think to myself, what do I need to know right now to help me achieve X? I search that list for a resource that could help. During and after consuming that resource, I'm taking notes and determining if I gain the knowledge I need to move forward or if I need another resource to help me with a very specific portion that I'm not sure about. So the second resource is going to be something that's not general, but really specific, or it might be like a specific chapter or section of a video that's going to answer a very specific question that I have. So, what I'd love to do in the future is follow like a learn, apply, share model and incorporate those learnings into my content. Although, frankly, this is actually a pretty good example because I'm sharing the just in time learning approach that I learned about on the podcast. Also, note that all of this only applies to knowledge based books. I read a lot of fiction books, probably more than 52 a year. So, note that I'm not talking about pleasure reading fiction books here. So, if you've ever felt like you're failing at productivity because the hacks didn't work for you, you're not. Productivity isn't about copying someone else's routine. It's about finding what works for you. If you're curious about more strategies that I've adjusted to work for me, check out this video next where I walk through my goal setting strategy and the system that helps me actually achieve the goals that I set. And if you're trying to build a life that works for you and not against you, hit that subscribe button and join me on the journey. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.